Alrighty, what are we filming here today, Rhett?
Yeah, so we're filming a set of interviews for a video for our foster and adoption care ministry at Rock Point Church, where we got Sanctity of Life Sunday coming up in January. And so one of our pastors was talking with me about an idea to highlight some of our families who are beneficiaries of the ministry, who have some encouraging stories, just to help us encourage our church that there's such a great need because there's so many at-risk children in our community, and we really want to drive a response in our church. So we want to tell some stories that are going to encourage people to get involved. And so we're here at a building downtown of the historic Grand Mason Grand Hall, whatever they call it. There's like 50 different names for it.
It's really cool.
But it's a really cool space. And so we decided we wanted to do something that was in the community a little bit more than shooting it at our church. So we loaded in here earlier today, and we've already done a couple of interviews. We got a couple more interviews to go with some families in our church.
And you got here early and set all these Christmas trees up, right?
I did. It had nothing to do with the Christmas tree. We didn't even know that they were going to be up for this wasn't meant to be a Christmas video, but it feels kind of fitting for some reason.
It is fitting.
Yeah, it'll be weird that it's coming out in January, but we're working with it. So we got to be here for free. Thank you to everybody who's involved with
free is always good.
Managing things here.
So let's start with the cameras here.
Yeah.
What do we have? What are we using?
These are actually pretty old Ursas. We're using Ursa Mini 4Ks. These are Gen 1 4Ks, not the 4.6K Gen 2 kind of thing. The 4.6 Gen 2s are awesome. We just have had these for a long time at the church. So we did rentals for things like lensing and monitoring. But yeah, Ursa 4K, DZO film, Vespid, Prime lenses, Tilta, Mattebox, Black Mist Pro. This is our Shogun, our Adamus or Shinobi monitor, but then we rinse it in a small HD. It's not small HD. What is it called?
It's small HD.
Yeah, small HD. It's an ND7. So
ND7. Okay, I like the Shinobi here. I've never seen one on the 7-inch is great.
I love the 7-inch Shinobi. I prefer just a 7-inch monitor to a 5-inch monitor. I feel like a 5-inch doesn't actually do anything. But the 7's great. It's got great features. I always put it on an arm where I can just see wherever it needs to go. So it's definitely my favorite monitor so far. I mean, it's also a good price point, So, once you get into the small HD stuff, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But it's so expensive.
I actually had a couple of small HDs and I sold them for the Ninja 5s, but it was mainly because I could have the external RAW on my Sonys.
Right. Adamus isn't the only one who's kind of doing that, though.
I don't know why that is.
We used the what was it? We used the Sumo for the short film, and so I had huge 19-inch production monitor that I could see everything on, and I didn't even use any of the recording features that they have, because you can mount hard drives straight into the Sumo. You can stack two Master Caddies on there, and you could just record multicam straight into the Sumo.
Oh, that's awesome.
I did not do that, but you
can. I didn't know you do that on that. That's really cool. So we have a 35 millimeter here.
Yeah, we have a 35 over here, and we got a 75 over here. I love shooting 35. I feel like a 35, it feels close to what you see as the human eye, but a little bit wider. So in terms of cinematic storytelling, you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck than a 50, which I think I've heard somebody, don't quote me, but somebody has said that a 50 is closest to what the human eye sees.
Yes. Yeah.
But we used the 75 a lot on a short film that we shot recently, and I love it's got that buttery background that's just so nice. So when we were looking at this project, at the church, we just have a bunch of Canon stills lenses. We got 70 to 200s, we got 24 to 70s kind of thing. And they're great for things at the, when we're shooting videos at the church for announcements and just different ministries. But we wanted to really highlight these stories in the best way that we can. And so, we worked with a budget to do some rentals. And so I love DZO film Vespids, what we've been using for every big project for the last year. There's a great color quality to it. It's pretty crisp. It's definitely, and it functions better than a stills lens for sure. And so the 35 and the 75 is becoming my favorite pairing so far.
That's mine too. That's been my go-to. The 35 and the 75, it was good. You got good focal lengths on each end there.
Yeah, especially what we're getting over here. I'm sure you can cut to some of the footage. But the balance, you get this nice wide scene over here for your A cam, but then I'm loving the close that I'm seeing off on a bias.
I feel if you're at 50 and then you almost have to go 100 or something to get that real drastic difference.
Exactly.
And then it's
I did that once. I rented in a 35, a 50, and a 75. No, it was a 30 and 250s for that for the music video shoot that we did in August. And I was like, there's not a big enough difference between the 35 and the 50 for me to like feel like this was worth it. And so that's why I went 35 and 75 for the short film. I was like, oh.
Yeah, 35's been my favorite too. It seems way more versatile. If I had to pick one lens, 35.
35 is what I would pick every single time if I had one lens. I love the Vespids. I've used the what is it called? The Pictors. They're parfocal zooms, like cine zooms from DZO. I haven't done like the Kata or the Tango, like the really high end DZO film stuff, but I love the Vespids. Like in terms of like prime lenses, so far they've given me like the best, most consistent image. And I like the Ursa 74Ks. They still hold up. Like they shoot the older RAW codec that Blackmagic has, so it's not B RAW. It's actually Cinema DNG, and because that's how like these were like made like 2019, 2020. And so it's a pain to work with, but it still looks great. And so what we do, since we already have the cameras, we save a lot of money by just renting in like Cine lenses instead of having to buy those for our church. Because we're not a production house, we're a church that wants to share stories. And so, there's always just this balance of budget versus like a compelling story. Like I always like to say you show people what you care about the way that you present it. Right. And so the way that you present something shows how much you like actually care or don't care about it. So that's why we're in a building downtown, instead of at our church.
I love that. Yeah, that's so true. So this is kind of a sidebar here, but cinema lenses and photo lenses. Yeah. What's the difference?
Functionality is the main difference between photo and cinema lenses. Cinema lenses are built to be operated on video cameras, as opposed to you had the DSLR revolution 15 years ago with YouTube, and people like buying like, hey, this camera can shoot stills and video, so it's cheaper than like a cinema camera or like something that you'd see like on a film set, and so everybody was buying the Canon 35 mil f2 or the 70. We've got 70-200s that are great. Yeah, I am thrilled with the Canon 70-200 on these cameras, but a 70 mil is your widest. You have to literally the camera has to be all the way over there to be able to handle that. So, but cinema lenses, they often so you can see it if you want to. With these, the gears are like built into the lens, as opposed to like a still lens doesn't usually have these kind of gears, because you can put mechanical focuses on these easier. They're meant to have a little bit more range of motion with less noise. These ones also, they don't have aperture control through the camera. They actually have an aperture ring, like an iris ring. So they're meant to function with video cameras, as opposed to function trying to get still images. Yeah, that's a question I always get asked, is like, well, what's the difference? Why, if you got the autofocus lenses, why would you go with cinema lenses? When I first started working with cinema lenses, like I'd always watched, everybody on YouTube, like, this lens is great. And I'm like, yeah, but it costs $1,500 and it only does one thing. But once you see like the image quality of like, anytime you try to do two things in one, you're probably not doing both of those things as well as if you did the one thing. And so cinema lenses are built to have a great image on a video camera. Yeah, and they're focused on one thing, image quality. They're not really focused on the autofocus motors and autofocus technology. I mean, so the glass that's in a DZO Film 35, like Vespid 35, is just so much better than anything else that I've been able to work with. I'm really looking forward to finding the right project to get like anamorphic lenses on, kind of thing. I just picked me up a set, so I know I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we go through Lens Pro to Go for all of our rentals, and so I really want to get some Atlas Orions. I would love to use those. The Mercuries I want to get my hands on too. They're they're yeah. I haven't found the right project to. It'd be kind of cool if we had a sponsor to send some stuff over. Maybe try some stuff. Let's do it. So audio. Let's move over to the audio here before we get to. Yeah, this is super basic. I built this out so that I don't have to hold it, hold a boom over my head forever. So it's a really cool invention. Yeah, it's a C-stand. It's a Sentry stand. It has 100 uses. That's why that's why it's called a C-stand. Some say 101. Oh, like a good knife, So it's a Zoom H4n Pro. over here. My bad. Zoom H4n Pro on a C stand with an RA boom holder. It's a Rode NTG2 that I actually was gifted by a friend of mine.
Classic.
Yeah, super classic, super simple. It works.
Yeah.
We're blending that with your DJI lapel mics that we're using right now. Sponsor us, DJI.
Anybody.
I have Rode Go Mic 2s.
Yes.
But they didn't make it on the charger, so
Yeah.
thankfully he bailed us out. So in post, I'll blend them together to get like a really natural
Yeah.
sound, but like a really focused sound from the lapels, and hopefully it'll sound pretty good.
All right. So what is this?
This is a monstrosity. It's awesome. But so I called Brandon and he didn't have anything. And I called you and you said, oh yeah, I've got a 6x6 diffusion. I said, I don't know. We're trying to diffuse light for a couch and for multiple people. I want it to be bigger. So went on Lens Pro to Go and ordered an 8x8 diffuser. And they called me and said, hey, we're out of our 8x8 diffusers. Are you okay with a 10x10? We'll give you a discount since we didn't have what you asked for. And I said, well, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah. I was not thinking, oh yeah, 10x10 is, this thing is enormous.
It is. It's kind of like a TV.
It's comical. This is comical to me.
It is. It's
like
massive.
Thankfully, the room fits. You know, like this giant hall.
If you were in a smaller room, this would be useless. You wouldn't be able to get it up. And this thing is really cool, though. It's the
I think it's Manfrotto.
Manfrotto. What they called it? Like a skylight or something? Manfrotto sky.
I literally was just on the phone with them, and they said we've got a 10x10, and I said great, send it. So yeah 10x10 diffuser.
And what we got behind it here?
Yep. On the other side, this was another rental. This is the Aputure LS600X. So it's bicolor and RGB. If you want to like get crazy with it. But we're motivating all of our lights with the windows that are in the room. It's an overcast day outside, and so we're getting a lot of cool light in through the windows that is going really well with all of the warm tungsten lights that are in the room as practicals. And so we've gotten this really balanced image so far by pushing just a ton of watts of light through this diffuser, through two diffusers, through a softbox and through this 10x10 diffuser. And it looks awesome on camera. It's so soft.
It does.
The Black Mist Pro is helping soften everything.
Yes.
It's just a quarter filter. But I was looking at it and I was like, I can put a couple of my 200 watt lights, but I don't, we just went with the.
No, and this is even set at 100, and that's where we've been using it.
It's just,
and it's
just killing it.
I love this. I love this.
The only other light that we're using other than natural light, I have one of my small rig RC220Bs over here. These are bicolor mono lights. They're 220 watts. And so we have the Aputure spotlight attachment on them. And so it's just kind of hitting the back wall with a bit of a gobo just to break up the plain white wall just a little bit, add a little bit of the shadows from the trees. Because if they're going to be here, we need to play into them a little bit. And so it kind of, there's a trick that I saw a couple of people on YouTube start doing. I think it was Zoo Studios. And they showed that like on every shoot they do, they cut something in on the backdrop with a spotlight and a gobo just to break it up a little bit and add some like value to like this is a pretty cool wall. Like there's a great texture, it's old architecture, there's trees, there's lights. But even like when we turn that on, it's like, there's just a little bit something extra that is really cool.
Yeah, especially with the trees here too, kind of hitting through there and
because you're getting both the gobo and the trees.
Yeah.
So
texture and contrast.
Yeah, the cool light coming from the windows, the warm light coming from like fixtures in the room. That's a contrast. Love the dark and light contrast. The way that the light has been kicking off this floor is awesome in camera. Like you're not really seeing it over on B cam.
Kind of like a warm feel coming up from it.
Well, no, it's a cool feel.
Cool from
That's
the windows.
What I was really surprised.
Oh, okay.
It's the light from the windows that's kicking up off of the floor, and so it's making it not feel so like dark, but it's still nice and dramatic in the lighting. So
it's a cool space. And we got to mention this.
Oh, the couch.
Couch.
The couch that came from our church. That Caleb, who's behind the camera right now.
Do we have a link?
I'm sure we can find one. We have a great decoration team at our church, and I said, I need a couch. And so we stole it from the atrium. It will be back before Sunday morning, we promise.
And it actually goes with this room. It looks
That's why I
really
looked
good.
at it. So actually, did I show you the picture of Prince Harry? That was like my reference image for this. Okay, I'll send this to you so you can put it in there.
Prince Harry.
But it was Prince Harry. It was a video that Prince Harry did. This was the reference image that I saw that I was like, I want to try to do that. Like,
Okay.
So there's the
Yeah.
couch. There's the windows.
I like that. Yeah, yeah.
There's the old warehousey
You can tell
looking
there's
building.
a large soft source there too, which I
Yes.
think
Is exactly
this
what
is
we tried
actually
to do.
really close to that. With
Yeah. So this was why we did this. As I was doing, I always like to have reference images when I'm setting up a plot for a scene. I like to have a plan going into
and it
into
helps everybody.
something.
If you got a team, people get on the same page and kind of
Yeah.
have a reference, a point of direction to start working toward.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's worked out great. We've had a couple couples come across so far and share their story, and so it gives them kind of a comfortable feeling. That's one of those things, like cinematography is great, but when it comes to interviews, if you're not able to set someone at ease, make them feel like they're like really excited to be here. We've had people who, like factory workers and hospital workers, that's what you have to with
that's
people in the
a
church.
whole nother skill. That's a whole nother skill, and that's something that I learned real quick as I started to grow. Was like I need to have somebody else who's focused on that, or if I'm focused on that, someone's going to be focused on another camera or the technical side. Because
That's why I love to bring in other people. Like that's why Brandon and I do so much work together. Is like I've learned the more that I can focus on directing, and less on the cinematography.
Yeah.
Or if I at least have somebody else who's checking my work on the cinematography, like we've kind of been doing today. Like I chose the camera placement and the lighting placement, but you're going through and making sure that everything actually is looking the way that it's supposed to. I can just focus on like, hey, I know these people. I want them to be able to feel comfortable and share their stories, and because it's the stories is what's going to impact the people in our church and hopefully drive like a successful call to action that our pastors want
that's
to
the most
see.
important thing. I always say a creative video is not a strategic video. You gotta start with strategy and wrap it to creativity.
Yeah.
And if you could set it up, it can be the most beautiful video, but if you're not pulling what you need out or setting the questions up right, you're just wasting everyone's time, or you're gonna kill yourself in the edit.
Do you know who Ezra Cohen is?
Sounds familiar.
So he's a motion designer, got his own thing. He once said his best video that he thought he ever made, he sent to a friend, and their feedback was, "It looks pretty, but I didn't feel anything." And that was.
I think a lot of
that's
people
where
are
I
in
go
that.
from now.
Yeah, a lot of people are in that.
That's good.
So we can wrap up here.
Yeah, looks like our next family's here.
Next family's
so let's
here.
get to it.
So when this video's done, I'll link it below. Hopefully, I don't know when this will
in
be
January,
up.
it'll be in January, middle of January.
Okay,
so.
this might be up before then, but if so, it'll be linked below, and that's it. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Come on in, guys. No, we're shooting like a little behind the scenes as well. So